Okay, perfect. Um, Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here. I just want to like recognize what a extremely unique uh, thing this residency is. I discovered hybrid bodies work on my phone, and I actually realized that there were a few different projects that I kept seeing and liking and maybe screenshotting, and then eventually I tracked it down and realized it was all coming from the same lab. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to reach out. And I actually like emailed Cindy like maybe almost a year ago, and she was just like, well, that's perfect. We have a residency, and you should apply. And I'm just so glad I did. It's really surreal to be here, and I'm already like instantly inspired by all the conversations I'm having. Um, and everyone's already been so welcoming. I just can't wait to get into it. So this talk is going to be not necessarily about what I'm going to be doing at the lab, but more about like where I'm coming from. So I realize like a lot of people here maybe have never gotten a tattoo before. Has anyone gotten a tattoo? You have one? Yeah.
Two.
Amazing. Cool. Yeah. 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 That kind of like occurred to me once I arrived here. Like, so I want to maybe take a second to like walk people through like what that even looks like, and what that process of working on the body is like. And I think it really can be applicable in many ways to on-skin computing. So this is just like imagining if a client came in and was like, I really want the Cornell bear, on my bicep or something. And so this first slide is just showing how I'd immediately go about doing that. So I just really hastily and sloppily just thresholded out this image and mirrored it because trying to go to the next. Oh, I'm not seeing it. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So before I go to the next slide, a lot of people like draw on tattoos. It's not that common, but a lot of people will draw them on, and that kind of guarantees like a form factor that will really work with the anatomy and the whatever's already there. But I come at it from a printmaking and kind of computer-based experience, where I worked in screen printing for years, and I was very used to how do you get this image onto this surface a million times. So I kind of just became very good at just copying. Like I kind of like a human copy machine, and I realized that would be very applicable to tattooing. And so yeah, that's kind of my process. It uses stencils. So let's see. No, I don't want to edit that. Let me just first slide jitters here. Yeah. Okay, I'll just okay. That one's the same. So yeah, you can see the mirror thing of the last slide happening here. Yeah, the stencil's reverse, so when it goes on the surface, yeah, and this is not me. This is just an image that I found, but it's a nice image, and it's a really well placed stencil. This image is very organic, and you could really place this kind of anywhere, and it would be very forgiving on like lots of parts of the body. A lot of people come to me for very angular or linear or graphic images, and sometimes those can really present like a challenge working on the irregular shapes of the body. And So this is a tattoo of someone that had diabetes, and they, for their whole lives, have been wearing like monitors and whatnot. And they wanted, it's kind of a weird project, but they wanted to get the circuitry of their Dexcom reader tattooed on them. And then the interior here is the app screen of their phone. And this is an example of how there's just no straight lines on the body. And what I would normally do in this case is I would like taper it a little bit and get it to fit a little nicer. But they really wanted, they kind of wanted to keep it, you know, very square and linear. So in that case, I kind of like just went off like the silhouettes of each side, and kind of just determined like that was as straight as it could get. But yeah, so with regard to what I might do in another scenario, this is the shape of like a bottle or like a pint of ice cream. And it sounds obvious, but yeah, the labels are tapered so that they fit around linearly around the surface. And that's kind of how I approach a lot of linear designs on tattooing. And it seems like there's going to be a lot of line-based things at Hybrid Body Lab. So I feel like this kind of approach could be applicable. These kind of all have the ability to have like rotational symmetry though. So they're already like easier to work with than like any part of the body, you know? So I want to show an example of a more difficult surface. This is a tattoo I did on another tattooer, and I know it's crazy, but tattooers get the craziest tattoos. And they really wanted it, and I talked about it with them for like a month, and they still wanted it. And I was like, okay, we're doing it. So this is obviously on the neck, and it's supposed to be diamond plate steel. I really like working with the idea of textures in my tattoos, especially textures that have an innate like context to them. Like when you see diamond plate, like you immediately think of, you know, I think of like a bulldozer or something, you know, or like some type of industry. And I really like that, and I like playing with the skin like that. But the reason why this was the next slide was because this was a tattoo with a very linear design, and the neck is just not like that at all. So I actually wound up warping this in all 4 directions in Photoshop, and it kind of had like a web X shape. And when we applied it, it kind of works. You can see how it kind of goes up and it goes down, but ultimately, when you look at it straightforward, it kind of sits pretty straight. Yeah, and this is just kind of an image like further thinking about that. Like the body's just like obviously full of like these totally irregular shapes, and they kind of like constantly present a challenge, but it's something that I've come really comfortable with, and I feel like it might be something I can offer with at the lab. By the way, just because there's so few people and I'm so inexperienced with public speaking, if you guys have any questions or comments or anything throughout, like, anything you'd like to add, I would love to make this like a conversation. I think that'd be really fun, and it's more how I like maybe like to interact and whatnot. Yeah, so this is sometimes how I think about the body. I do a lot of 3D modeling, and one of the ways that I learned 3D modeling was with the body. And I really think that a lot of people learn it, you know, like they want to make some simple appliance, you know, or something, and maybe you want to make that, and it's pretty simple to like work with, you know, quadrilaterals like that. And then the body is very, very different. And so thinking about the body in terms of like quadrilaterals, it gets weird right away. And it was kind of like the hardest way I could learn 3D modeling, but I wanted to relate it to tattooing, and I feel like it made me a better modeler because of it. Yeah, this is kind of like if you just like literally cut someone's skin like down the side, which is grotesque, but kind of interesting. Yeah, like even in this like super idealized version of a person, you know, this pretty like low poly person, not even the simplest line is straight, you know. So I really can't emphasize that enough. These are poles. Anytime more than 4 edges meet at a single vertex, so you can see how that might like wrap around in like a more of a dome shape or something.
Do you feel like you have to tell people that when they're getting tattoos, like they don't understand how it can't be a straight line?
Well,
did they go in sort of?
it's conversations that come up a lot. Honestly, my clients are strange in the best way. I love my clients. People come to me, and these conversations really happen pretty naturally. And like I was saying, like a lot of people do come to me for very graphic or very geometric things. I sometimes like offer like a type of like precision that people will come to me for. So yeah, I just also think this looks really cool, and I think it's a cool way to think about 3D objects. So I included that. Yeah, so this next slide is I wonder if I can go, can I go, I'm sorry, back on here?
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it without the, it's just, maybe it's a right click. Oh, it's working now? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so this is super fake, you know, the quad geometry. This is real, and this is something that I always try to remember whenever I do tattoos, whenever I look at skin. I try to be like very reverent to this, and like respectful of musculature and what's happening underneath, because you can really see it all the time. And I really like to make any design that I do, no matter how silly, no matter how dare you it is, like I do want it to be respectful of the human body, because I think it's an extremely timeless thing. And it's just infinitely complex. Yeah, and like a lot of people want, you know, they want things to go around and do this. And if you look at the body, there's nothing that does that at all. So it's really just in our heads, which is fine. Yeah, I just wanted to close out this little intro with a really quick diagram of the skin and tattooing. So this is what I do far too often. And then this is where you want to be, and then this is the epidermis, dermis, and subcutaneous layer. And if you hit the subcutaneous layer, it's fine.
Your face like, oh my God.
I know. That's what you call a blowout. That has a name. And it'll blossom under the skin, and it'll have like kind of a bluish hue, and it'll kind of keep blossoming forever.
Is that bad?
I don't think it's that bad. I don't do it. Like I was saying, I repair on this. So if you've ever seen like an old person's tattoo that maybe they have for 40 years or something, you've seen it kind of like it's kind of faded, you know, and that might be a blowout. That might be poor injection of the ink, that especially because it's so old. It might be that the ink technology was terrible and they didn't shake the bottle enough, you know. I'm serious. These things have come so far in the last 10 years even.
So you're saying that like if you got a tattoo that's done correctly, it should stand the test of time for decades?
Yeah. I mean, all tattoos, they will like, they'll move a little bit, but if they're put in right with the right equipment by someone that knows what they're doing, especially now, they really just stick fantastically.
I have one that's 11 years old on my foot.
How
And
is
it's
it?
still- And it's still pretty clear.
It's pretty good, yeah.
It
Did you
looks
get
like-
it at a shop?
Yeah,
Yeah,
by an artist who was visiting Ithaca from Texas.
Yeah.
He was a visiting artist.
very cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a shop tattooers because they're really skilled, really excellent. I've worked at some. They like to go like right here. They like to make sure you're not gonna come back, like for a touch up or something. So they move a little bit, but really not. I can't believe how stuck they get. It kind of blows my mind that they just stay there. And that's because the particles are, they're too big. They're too big to go through this layer. And when you get a laser tattoo removal, what that laser is doing is actually hitting it really so much so that it breaks it up and then it gets absorbed into the bloodstream.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So is like that layer also where like our hair goes? So when we get a laser hair removal, that's also.
That's
Okay.
there's a hair.
Got it.
Yeah, totally.
Application to life.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, interesting.
yeah, I find this stuff interesting, so I wanted to kind of share it. Yeah, especially because I feel like, I don't know, I'm not a biologist, I don't know anything about electronics, but I feel like maybe this layer has something to do with, maybe possible applications of technology one day, I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah, especially because it doesn't move at all. It's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Are there always 3 needles?
So I got rid of the next slide because I was like, oh, they don't need to know this. So I typically use what's called a super tight 3 for a lot of things. I think it's super versatile. That is grouped like this, and then you could get, say, 3 needles grouped like that. Or you could get 7 needles grouped, in a hexagon with 1 in the middle, or you could get 7 needles like that. And there's all kinds of different, they're called needle groupings, and they come in all different shapes and sizes, and people use them in amazing ways. Just to show, since I'm here, like I have like so many examples of like different. This is done with 1 needle, like it's a rake of like 15 needles in a row, and they actually like drag.
It's cool.
Yeah, kind of interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
You said you like the 3 needle combination?
Yeah, I like
And
that
why is that?
because it's called a super tight 3, and it's actually as thin as 1 needle, basically. And that just allows me to get really graphic with it, or really, really precise. Yeah. Pretty much. The reason why I don't use a single needle, some people do, it has a strong tendency to go too deep, really with no effort at all. Okay, so I'm gonna show you some of my work. Wow. So I like to do really dumb stuff, like really, really silly stuff. I really like to think about stuff that just really was never meant to be on the skin, but the fact that it's on it like is kind of cool and like kind of funny. Just to start it off, this is like this person uses Photoshop all the time. They're a tattooer. I gave them an image not found tattoo. It's like tattoo just got lost. This other one is like kind of like a Mac OS X like 10.4 like aqua bubble type button that you might find on a computer. I really like thinking about the skin and thinking about screens as I think about the skin as a screen, thinking about this fabric as a screen, or it's not. I like to think about services like Cindy said, interchangeably. This one is like if they were literally a Beanie Baby. And I don't know if you can see in the light, there's a drop shadow on here, and there's also, like a plastic, like tag. So I really just wanted it to just be so fake and look so real, like, I really like the idea of drop shadows. The word is trompe-l'oeil, and I'll come to that word later. So next, this is, and some of these might be just shocking, but I hope that's okay. So this is like thinking about if there was just like water on the skin. I was really like into those Gatorade commercials when I was a kid, like the is it in you, and I kind of just never forgot about that. And yeah, I've done a lot of tattoos. A lot of people have come to me to get water droplets all over their body. And I try so hard to put them in places that make them not look like sweat. Like I want it to look like beautiful water, teardrops or something, not sweat, not. And then this one's just thinking about, if that person's arm was a literal snake. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it it's kind of bright in there. That's okay. I don't want to, maybe it doesn't have to be new. Okay, sorry. Okay,
Yeah, that's better.
it's better, okay.
Oh, it's like it's a snake.
It's literally a snake, yeah, that's the goal.
It just looks painful.
It is, people say I have a very light hand, and I've tattooed myself many times.
What do you mean by that?
Some people are very heavy-handed. That's not even to say that they go in too deep. It's just that they're kind of rough with it. They're like no pain, no gain type. I'm not really like, I'm not really interested in the pain aspect that much. Like I kind of want people to like have a good time. I play ambient music while I do it. Like I want them to be like comfortable. Okay, I really like, oh, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna keep going here.
What is
Let's
that?
feel free to ask any questions. So this is this is a Microsoft Paint toolkit. And it's old. It's supposed to be nostalgic. Tattoos can definitely be nostalgic. They always will be. If you get one now that's meant to be the present moment, 5 years from now, it'll be nostalgic whether you like it or not. So yeah. I did this kind of with that 3-liner. I don't know if you can see, but I actually did pretty successfully. All of it is pixels, and I really wanted this to look like a installation in the skin, and I think it does. So this is also on a tattooer. This is just kind of the idea of like I use Photoshop for everything, and this is kind of just like if the skin was a plane and you just really just dragged a Photoshop eraser across. So you can see I have drop shadow here, which is so silly. And there's kind of a pool texture underneath. And then I like this one because I don't know if you can tell, it's the spinning beach ball of death from Macintosh. Yeah, okay. I think it's funny as a tattoo because as soon as you see that ball, nothing's gonna happen and your computer's just gonna freeze. So like it's kind of just like it's just frozen forever, Oh, sorry, it's like the mic there. Yeah, this one I did on myself. This is how I learned to draw. This with crayons, and this was just kind of like a special one I did for myself. It was kind of like the packaging of a crayon. If like there's just a pack of crayons underneath there, and that's also got drop shadow and fake light. I like to fake all these things, but I really want to make them real. And then yeah, this is just thinking about the body as a screen. I don't even know what MSN Messenger is, but they really wanted it, and they were happy with it. But yeah, if you could just click that, or something. If you guys need anything, I'm just gonna keep working through.
Yeah.
what's it like to tattoo on yourself?
It sucks. I'm not gonna lie, it's the worst. I used to enjoy it more. I used to be like, I used to have less too. So, yeah, Okay, so they also say that once you hit 30, tattoos hurt twice as bad. I turned 30 this year, can confirm. I don't know what that is, but there is something happening there.
Really?
Yeah.
Hold on. So yeah, these were this is like a dermal series, or just like thinking about like the this silly like bedazzling like an iPhone or something. Just think about the skin as something that can be bedazzled. This is actually a real dermal piercing that I did not do, but yeah, these are like, this looks terrible. I was saying, I would never do that, but yeah, like that it's pretty convincing. Like,
You can see the light on them.
yeah, that's because with these, I originally was like looking at photos of like bedazzled things, and then what I started doing is I just I'd have like a empty plane in Blender or a 3D modeling program, and I just put spears with reflection on the plane and then take a picture of it, you know, so the reflections are pretty real. Cool, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, this is a shocking one, but it's okay. This is on a friend of mine. It was a client that just kept coming in, and they're so cool, and they just became a close friend. So you can see there's drop shadows on these butterflies. We wanted them to look like they were just really like landing on a hand, and I feel like that conveyed it quite a bit. And then so a year later, he came in and wanted diamond plate steel to be underneath it. And so it's kind of hard to see because these are healed under a layer of skin and these are fresh sitting on top. So it's kind of, but I've seen this healed and it actually looks like the butterflies are sitting on top of this steel, which I thought was really funny and cool. I'm gonna run through a few more and then maybe we can move on. This is just more stuff thinking about the body of the screen. This is a friend of mine that loved DDR and they just wanted this perfect thing to be cascading down there. So I really thought that was just a really nice one. And then this is on me and my partner. They always text me this emoji and they just insisted that I do the same on myself, and I eventually did. These were cool because I actually use no black in any of them. I just wanted to have it as much like the way that it appears on the phone as possible. And keep moving. This is a map from a video game, Midnight Club 3. This is a favorite game when I was a kid. I would love it if this map moved in some way, but it's not how they work. But I picture these doing things like that. And then this is, you know. Okay, I'm moving into like tattoos that I've done that kind of do things a little bit. Which is definitely attractive to me. I really would love it if they did something. So this is UV ink. This is fresh and this is healed 5 years. So it really like it's funny, you can kind of hardly see it in the daytime, but as soon as you go under a black light, you remember that that's there because it's pretty bright. And maybe there are inks out there, I know that there are, but you know, if you had like a glucose deficiency or something, you know, like it seems very plausible that something could light up under certain conditions underneath the skin, and that could be useful. This doesn't really do anything, but I just thought it was cool. There's no reason to do it. This is on a friend, but I tattooed it like this. I tattooed a rose inverted. So the black outline is white, the reds are cyan, and then this was when you inverted the photo, it came out positive. So just kind of a silly thing, but I like it. Oh, I was gonna pull up Instagram for this because I have a video of this working, but I don't think I'm gonna do that right now. It totally works. This person came in wanting a barcode, and that's kind of a red flag for me, because like I don't want, that's like Hitman's tattoo as a video game character. I was just like, what if we did a Cash App scan? And they were like really into that, especially because it actually works. I wish I had a video. This kind of presents like an obvious challenge because it has to be accurate, it has to, and then on top of it being a copy, so it was on the computer, I copied it onto a stencil, then I copied it onto skin by hand. And then it's wrapped around a 3D surface. So in order to get this to work, it was like, took a lot of patience, but it does work. And then this is on my friend Nicholas, who I believe is still in the chat. He's a roboticist and an artist. And he had all these, I'm pretty sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he had all these robotic arms. He writes software for robots, and he had all these robotic arms that sometimes I think they would go haywire, and he just needed them to sometimes stop. So this is some type of tag, and he wrote this software that it would recognize the tag. So whenever he just lifted his arm like that, the robots would stop. Which I don't know, it's something.
It's working smarter.
Exactly. Okay, I think I have a few more. Okay, so yeah, we're moving into like newer work of mine. This is like really some hybrid body stuff that I really think about. I love cars. I've always looked at cars. And I love their vents, and I just really like tattooing vents into skin. I think it's really fun. This tattooer is incredible. They actually did my neck, and it was just a crazy day. That was what we did. I actually tattooed the vent underneath an older tattoo, I just didn't tattoo there, and so it like really looks like it's sitting in there. But it'd be nice if they worked. These are more vents. As soon as I did that, a lot of people wanted those, and I actually left Brooklyn while people were like, no, give me a vent. Yeah, these are like, I mean, this is all fake, but that's okay for now. Yeah, these are kind of panel lines of like Cyborg. These are the vents, kind of italicizing Photoshop of Corvette. This is a vent on Land Rover, actually. I really like that one. I really feel like it kind of like pops into space. Okay, and then this is kind of where my work is starting to move. So this was a tattoo that I did in 2018. This is like the diamond plate. And then this is really badly done, but it's kind of like, I want these things to be real. I really do. And I modeled and 3D printed these diamonds, and just put them on myself. But yeah, I just imagine really sculpting on the body in a hopefully like meaningful way. And maybe that sculpture could be like housing for electronics. Here's another photo of that same thing. And then this is actually a 3D model. I've been sculpting on bodies in 3D, just literally drawing with the draw tool. That's my favorite symbol, is a caduceus. I have a tattoo right here. Yeah, I just like the way this like weaves in, and it's just really, I feel like it's pretty uncanny. Yeah, I really like that piece a lot. So yeah, thinking about just like kind of like the interchangeability of surfaces. I'll come back to this Xbox controller later. I just sculpting on this Xbox controller the same way that I sculpted on the body. I wish I had that as the next slide. I don't. I fully 3D printed this and use it every day. And it's kind of like a medieval weapon in that way. Yeah, this is kind of more like just putting holes in the body. I was just like, I sit there on my computer and do it, and I look at my left hand as I like do shortcut keys and I'm like. I just started seeing like holes in it or something, and then this is like a low poly version of my hand, like. Kind of like the metaverse when they showed the horrific like low poly bodies. Yeah, like a POV of what that might look like. Let's see. Okay, we're coming in here. So this is like on the flyer. This was like kind of like my first entrance into like sculpting on the body. And you can see it's very shallow, it's very surface level, which is fine. And then, yeah, this is a more recent one that I did on an amazing tattooer and science fiction like makeup artist. She does like prosthetic makeup as well as tattoos. She did this tattoo here. Amazing person, and literally decided she wanted this on her neck like in like 1 minute and was like, yeah, I want this on my neck. And did it. The reason why that slide is there is because this process was totally different than all the other ones that we've seen, and I want to show you like where my work is going and how it's happening now. So this was done using Midjourney. Yeah, you can see that I did a little editing in Photoshop, but this is these 3 vents right here. And this is totally generative. And the reason why I mean I started using Midjourney as soon as it came out because I think it's like frankly like the newest way to draw. I think it's like literally like drawing with your imagination. It's incredibly powerful. But I took a break from it because it was kind of expensive, and I came back to it recently. This is recent because you don't have to use text anymore. Does everyone know what Midjourney is? No. Oh, I'm sorry. It's an AI image generation program. So you put in text, say you wanted to see you're like please type in or please make vents on a human neck installed into a human neck, and you literally type that and it'll make 4 images of that. And that was just super powerful, but I'm not that amazing of a writer, and I think words mean different things to other people. So I was just like, okay, that's really cool that exists. In the last like 2 months, they made it so you don't need to use text anymore to generate images. You can actually just send images together. So this was just a series of car vents and engines. I gave it like 5 pictures and it spat out these totally unique engines that didn't exist before. So I'm using AI more and more in my practice. These are like examples of combining images together in Midjourney. These are all things that I generated in like minutes. Yeah, just thinking about like prosthesis on the body. I haven't really edited any of these, but I just think that they just kind of show like how powerful like AI is in imagining things and drafting things. These are all whoops. This is all AI. I'm just gonna kind of go through these and not really explain them that much, but basically like each one of these is about 4 images put together, 4 images that I wanted put together, and they come out really synthesized, honestly, and you can pretty easily see how you would sculpt that in 3D and print it out, and maybe that could be useful to someone. This is more, I'm just going to show you a few more like of the ways that I'm prototyping in Midjourney. So one of the images for all of these that I put in was Spider-Man's suit. So just the webbing, I wanted it to describe the webbing. I put in like ivory relief sculpture. Like I'm just giving examples of like the things that came together to make these. And I think that they're really interesting and show a lot of potential in terms of more of it. I think these are incredible. Like this involved architecture, Gothic architecture, Spider-Man's suit. and a couple video game characters, and they came out with that. So there's no text involved, no drawing involved, just kind of like hybridizing ideas together. And that, and this is how I want my tattooing practice to be now. And this is somewhat related to some of the work that I want to do with hybrid body. I'm just gonna keep moving a little bit, and here's a good example of this. Came out like okay, but this is just for a random example. These were the two images that I gave it to make this. I only gave it two, and it came out with this. This is Seven of Nine's hand from Star Trek, and this is Ocarina of Time's fully loaded like inventory, like if you got all the items, and it's from 1997. And that's also from 1997. I'm just thinking about those two things have inspired me forever. Like I love Star Trek, and I play video games every day. And yeah, I mean it came out with something totally different. And I just think it's very powerful. Okay, that's enough what time are we at? I feel like it might be like a really good time for, I have random stuff from here on out, but maybe I'll just talk about one thing really quick. Okay, so this is like an example of like my thinking as an artist. Last year I got to go to Spain, and I got to see the Sagrada de Familia. And a week before that, has anyone heard of Elden Ring? No? Yeah, you've heard of it? Yeah, it's my favorite game of all time, made by my favorite game developers, and that came out a week before. And those developers are Japanese, but they go to Europe and study the buildings, and then come back and make the most incredible games ever. So I had just played Elden Ring for like 80 hours that week,
And then you go to
and then I went to the place that existed. So here's me wearing an Elden Ring shirt in front of the Sagrada de Familia, and like that to me is like the coolest thing. And then here's me in the video game standing in front of a very similar thing, and I really like that. That's how I try to think all the time as an artist, is like just like the interchangeability of things. And then this was the result of like that experience. This was that Xbox controller, and I was just thinking about it in terms of like medieval weaponry and stuff. Like thinking of the controller as my weapon, to my interface to actually control weapons in a game. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to do Q&A or if I keep showing stuff. It kind of gets more random from here.
So we're like, we have like 10 more minutes, so it's really up to everyone.
Might be a good Q&A time.
Any questions? And first of all, many so inspiring.
Thank you so much.
Any questions?
So thinking about your work
Yeah.
and what you do, how do you think that's going to integrate with the hybrid body lab? Like what are you hoping to come out of it? Have you
Yeah.
come up with any cool ideas yet?
Yeah, so I realized the first thing I noticed when I walked in, first of all, everyone rocks, and I like love the lab. It's so cool to be in this environment. My environment is very, very different, and it's not loaded with amazing resources. It's so cool. The first thing I noticed about designs though, and I don't know if this is a possibility or not, but the reason why I started out this presentation with the idea of straight lines on the body was because I noticed, like, just by virtue of it being technology and inorganic, a lot of things are linear, and it presents kind of like a fundamental, like, just grading against like the organic shapes of the body, I feel. And yeah, I don't know. I really think that like maybe it could flow a little bit. Like I think that I definitely want to bring some sculpture to it. I really like the idea of and this isn't really helpful to anyone, but it's just kind of like a proof of concept, like the idea of like like prosthetics that look like their skin, you know, like in sci-fi and stuff. Like I feel like it could like if it like stuck out like that but was skin, that'd be really interesting. But if it was like a piece of electronics, you know, that like totally blended into the skin. Yeah, I haven't even had time to have like conversations with people. I just every time I talk to anyone at the lab, I mean, I feel like everyone's immediately like just excited to talk about ideas and stuff. So I'm excited to do that. Yeah. Cool.
There's a question on Zoom,
Oh yeah.
so.
Who is it from?
NKK.
Cool.
Does Joe have any ideas on what kinds of sensors or actuators he would want to integrate into his tattoos?
That's a great question. And I haven't even, Nicholas, I haven't even had time to ask them. I haven't even had time to talk about it. One thing that I was really focused on just in my preliminary getting ready to go to Cornell research was the idea of like thermoelectric generators. I feel like I don't know if that's an actuator or not, Nicholas. I have no clue. I'm not but yeah, just the idea of like body heat and maybe like friction to like generate electricity or something. Yeah, next question. Okay, I'll talk to you later, Nicholas. That's a very well actually just Jing Wen or Cindy or Ping Soon have the answer to that? Like, is there that's a really good question.
Just so many, like, I don't know where to start. And I think we have another PhD student, so,
Yeah,
it's like, because, sensors, are basically input, so just so many. I think the one that we examine the most in human computer interaction are touch sensors, right?
touch sense.
They can be capacitive or resistive, right? We can also have pressure sensors.
Can you hear you?
Can you hear me? Probably not.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to repeat it, but
Yeah. Can you hear me? Probably not. The Zoom online thing.
Yeah, because on Zoom.
that the person that asked that is the person controlling the robots with his arms.
Yeah, so like, touch sensors and then a lot of with like one that's very popular is called IMU, inertial measurement. It's like to measure the X, Y, and Z axis of a body, right? If you have the sense. So you can imagine if you put several on all of your joints, it can then map your hand motion.
Yeah, like
Right.
Magic Leap or something, like the
Yes.
like
that's-
VR control.
that's,
Yeah.
So imagine it's using computer graphics, but you
Oh.
can actually put sensors on it, then you don't need computer graphics.
No camera.
No camera.
Okay,
needed. Yeah,
gotcha.
so it's even more
Cool.
like, mobile in a way. And then with
Yeah.
actuators, there's so many, like a big one is LEDs, which we think are not that cool anymore.
Yeah.
There's just so many. There's like, color thermochromic inks. There are haptics. We can now create stuff that can create like different type of sensations on the skin, right? So there's a lot to explore.
Mm.
Yeah. Good question.
Very cool. Yeah, any other questions?
Another question from Ritik.
Who is it?
Is it from
Ritik, yeah, this is
Oh,
our future
cool.
lab student.
Oh, cool.
Curious how you see the future of body modification. How do you think your daily lives could change in the future?
I think that's probably the most important question.
Yeah.
And I try to think about like I think the human body is like already so perfect, so it's like, why are you gonna add to that, and like what are you gonna add in a meaningful way? So I actually think I've thought about that for like weeks now, and frankly, I haven't even gotten to like a concrete answer. I was like really sick as a child. I was like always hospitalized and like tubed up and stuff. So like medicine and technology are very close to my heart. I really think that there's all kinds of sensors and actuators that could notify me when maybe I'm having an issue. For one thing, I've been hospitalized for asthma so many times. And my blood O2 is like typically like just if there's something that could tell me my blood O2, like that could be cool. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of the ideas of like, I see a lot of like depictions of people with screens on their forearms, for example. And I think that's possible, but I think doesn't make sense from a design perspective because you automatically like lose the use of like one hand. It's like a terrible design. Like it's like we use our thumbs for everything. If you can't use your second thumb, like then it's dumb. Like so I just really I don't
You can't use your
See, I don't know.
okay. Yeah, so I'm a huge not proponent of the screen in the arm. I saw a design the other day that was interesting. It wasn't great, but it was like, that was interesting. It was a guy had a projector on his chest and it projected a touch screen onto his hand. And that's pretty interesting. Like, I feel like that has potential. The problem is that, like I was saying before, there's no straight lines on the body. The skin is a color, so automatically you're gonna have less color fidelity. Projectors suck. Like, I don't know. It's just like, it's kind of interesting. Like, I try to think, I think about like displays a lot, but I don't actually have a call yet on that. Yeah, I don't know. And
When you're like applying a tattoo to somebody, like
Yeah.
what is the most like rewarding, like how do you know you like as an artist that you've done such a great job with that?
I actually know exactly what I do. I crack up when it's done.
Yeah.
If it was bad, I'm like, that's really cool. If it was good, I literally start cackling because like if you look at like some of those tattoos, they're just funny. Like it's meant to be funny, and the people that got it have like a funny sense of humor and like relationship with their body. So if I crack up, you got a good tattoo. Yeah. Yeah.
How will you be testing your ideas here? Will they be on skin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they'll be directly on skin. I didn't bring any tattoo supplies here. I wish that I brought a few just for the sake of illustrating like how I put stencils on skin. I'm really kicking myself for that because I realized like that would have been really useful. I'm not talking about any needles or anything, just like actually putting an image on the skin. I might even find a way to get that up here, or they're pretty cheap. I might just buy one on Amazon or something. What was the question? Yeah, I don't know. I think that I definitely do want it to sit on top of the skin. And maybe we can talk about like putting things under or in skin, but I don't think I'm gonna do anything like that here now. Yeah. Yeah.
I have one more question. What is like for your creative processes? You work with clients all the time and they bring in ideas.
Yeah.
And also eventually it will be on their body, but like you are the artist who create. So what is that like for
That's
you?
a great question. That's one of the reasons why I like doing a lot of what they call custom tattoos, which is where pretty much literally like 99% of the tattoos I do are some type of collaboration. And they kind of want to work with me in some way, you know. So I like when they come in with like, I really have this idea like this, and I'm like, okay, well, what if we do this and this, and then I can see them get excited about it. And I've gotten over the years of tattooing, I've gotten really good at reading people who are trying to be nice and people who like mean it, you know, like so like when I can tell that they mean it, I'm like, all right, let's do this. That sounds really cool. And then yeah, we work with whatever part of the body they want it on, and hopefully put it in a place that works with whatever tattoos they already have. Most people that get tattooed by me already have a lot of tattoos. I don't mind doing first tattoos at all. I think it's an honor. But once you have, it's kind of difficult to do a first tattoo because there's nothing there already. You know, I have this horrible gap that now I know what I want, but like this gap is so useful, you know, like all the gaps, like you can like, oh, I'll just put it there, like that'll be fine. When there's nothing there, it's like, okay, I better like start this off right, you know, like you're like laying the foundation, you know. Yeah.
I think one last thing I was curious, so like,
Yeah.
I think that everybody is artists, like you're always looking back at your work and wishing
Yeah.
that you maybe did things differently.
Yeah.
And with tattoos, obviously, that's really interesting because it's permanent. Do
Totally.
you have that like process
yeah,
where you look
yeah.
at it and you're like, I wish I could.
I have that on my body. I have it all
Yeah.
over my body. I would do it. I would do it
Maybe you don't be
again.
looking at it every day, right?
I do, yeah. It's truthfully, I think it's the one thing that you have to kind of like surrender to in getting a tattoo is that you totally run the risk of getting a bad tattoo. It's part of it. It's part of life. I know tattooers. This one tattooer has the craziest tattoos I've ever seen, and he just has. I don't know. He just has. Tattooers have very interesting philosophies about their bodies. I feel like all of them are different. And they every one of them have regrets, and they just you can't let it bother you. You know, it's a YOLO type vibe. Yeah.
YOLO?
What?
What is-
Oh, you only live once. Yeah.
Look up citation.
One question,
Yeah.
Sue, how would the infection be prevented when you put things under or into skin long term? Will it heal up like a piercing?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like I've had a lot of piercings in the past. None of them have healed, right? So piercings don't really work. Every time you put something in the skin, you're kind of asking for trouble, and you're like asking for discomfort, I think. So that's why that's why I didn't even bring my tattoo stuff here, is because like I don't even want to think about putting technology in my body right now. Like I'm not a biologist. I'm I'm not a dermatologist. Like I don't pretend to be, to know anything about that. So I wouldn't advise it. There's a lot of people, the words like biohackers and stuff. Grinders, which is like both those words, it's like, man, that's like kind of sus off the bat, but they do that, and I think they do it in as knowledgeably a way as they can, and I think they do it with success. But I guess what I don't like about a lot of it is like it's kind of like you were saying, it's kind of like LEDs or something, or it like opens their garage door.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, like we got. I don't want a thing in my skin that opens a garage door. Like I don't know, I can open a garage. Like, yeah. What was the question? Did I kind of answer it?
Yeah, how would the infection be prevented?
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it'd have to be done right. I mean, tattoos can get infected if, say, I did a tattoo and you you went in a hot tub and then like went to the ocean and like rubbed sand on it. Like it would, like you'd have earned that and it would get infected. Like, but other than that, like they really heal. I've had some really bad tattoo healing processes where it's always with color ink, because color ink it's a bigger particle and the skin can have kind of a reaction to it. And the scab is so weird. It's like a plastic colorful scab, and I know that's not making anyone want to get a tattoo, but ultimately they do heal fine. Even the ones that work like that, they heal fine. This red cherries right here, this was such a crazy scab, and the tattoo didn't do anything wrong. I think red is just a ink that people have a lot of issues with, and it healed perfectly. And that was years and years ago, so I've never had any problems with it. That's kind of one thing that like blows my mind about tattooing is like people get layers of them. Like I know so many people with like their third layer of tattoos, and they have no problems. Like they have no ramifications of that at all, and it kind of blows my mind that you can keep packing the skin with that and no consequences apparently.
So I have a question, actually, that's related to what you just said.
Yeah.
because, there were studies done on like the inks, the chemicals in the inks that are used, and then having, potential cancer effects, and so on, some studies in Europe, but my
Yes.
question was, because I really like your, you tying in the medical field into, tattooing.
Yeah.
And, did you ever think like, oh, hey, it would be great if instead of like the inks having a negative effect, maybe they could have a therapeutic effect, right? So when you're tattooing, maybe the ink is having a therapeutic effect on like the disease that a patient is having, or it's used as for drug delivery. or-
Drug delivery is really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually yeah, I almost included in the slide. Someone made a patch. It was like a team of scientists that made these patches that were like they were kind of like dot matrices of these it was actually ink in the shape of like stalactites, and they were actually doing it for drug delivery, and they would literally stamp those stalactites into the skin as a real tattoo. And yeah, that's people are thinking about that in terms of drug delivery, and that's a really interesting idea. Yeah. Yeah, what did you mean about yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so thank you. Let's please give Joe- I think just amazing talk, just I think eye-opening, and I learned a new hip term, like YOLO, right? It is.
It's again. It comes back.
Okay, I'm not gonna.
I like YOLO.
Like the Gen Zers are gonna laugh at me in my class. Give them a class. Yeah, millennial, like the millennial professors, like I'm cool. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and also on Zoom.
Thank you so much. I'm
thank
so
you
honored
all
to be
so
here.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
And just like looking ahead, so we will have another talk like this, and with Joe, where Joe will be talking about his project, the project that he actually creates in the lab. And this will be, I think, in early July, when he ends around when he ends his residency. Yeah, and we will also have like, have updates on our lab website and also on Instagram. So stay tuned. Thanks.
All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. Love you guys. See you. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Cool.
So.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Tanner.
So he did a really great job. He was asking if this is what I had in mind.